A local city continuing its fight to prevent more repeated outages for FirstEnergy customers. Caitlin McCarthy has what city leaders are doing for accountability.
I am glad that we're working together, that our government is working towards holding them accountable.
Frustrations from FirstEnergy customers in Lakewood are at a boiling point, especially after thousands were without power during a heat wave earlier this month. That really fired up the city to take even more action to hold the utility company accountable.
They lose medicine, they lose food that they can't afford to replace. Our small businesses sometimes have to close. People they lose work then. It just has humongous ripple effects.
City Council President Sarah Keppel explaining what many customers deal with when the power goes out. During Monday night's meeting, the city's past and present responses to FirstEnergy were laid out. The city says they want their legal action to result in less outages, including no equipment-related outages, an equipment upgrade solution, and shorter duration if the power does go out. Going forward, what are the next steps the city is going to take to hold FirstEnergy accountable?
So we're going to continue to work through the legal process through the Public Utilities Commission of Ohio. So that includes making sure that the current probable noncompliance is standards are upheld, so that the FirstEnergy is replacing the infrastructure that they were ordered to replace, that they complete their improved communication plan that they were ordered to complete.
We also spoke with J.P. Blackwood with the Ohio Consumers Council. The state agency advocates for consumers with issues related to their regulated utilities.
Consumers in Lakewood and across the FirstEnergy territory have paid millions, to get better reliability. Hundreds of millions. They should be getting reliability because they're paying a lot of money for it.
Keppel says the city council plans to keep their foot on the gas by continuing to meet about this issue. If there are more outages, what can FirstEnergy customers do in the meantime?
One of the things that I want to ensure people do is continue to file complaints with the Public Utilities Commission of Ohio. Their voices have power even if we don't have electricity.
In Lakewood, Caitlin McCarthy, 19 News.